The best Kaspa miner in the world as of today is the Bitmain Antminer KS5 Pro at 21 terahash. This little computer chip paired with Nicehash's brand new firmware is going to allow me to push my KS5 Pro even further. How much further? Upwards of 20%. So let's put it to the test. So what are we looking at here? Well, take a look at this. So I reached out to the team over at Nicehash when they announced this and actually asked for them to send me a few for testing. Well, these shipped out. I got them from Texas, from Mara, and take a closer look. On the one side, it's got Mara there, and actually it's called a cracker card. We also have the part number and the serial number. And if you flip it around, there's actually two spots that are going to get connected to our control board of our Bitmain Antminer KS5 Pro. Can't wait to put this thing to the test. But let's jump over to the computer. We'll talk about exactly how this works, and then let's head out to our ASIC shed to do some testing. So back on October 15th, Nicehash made the announcement of the world's first firmware for the Antminer Kaspa ASIC, more specifically the KS5 Pro. And if we're over here, we're going to go ahead and scroll down, and you can actually see some of the information that they're discussing. So right away, performance increases the performance of your Kaspa ASIC upwards of 20%, and we'll test that today. Efficiency gains increase efficiency by lowering power consumption. I've seen this with the Nicehash firmware. It's a newer firmware. I've tested it out on some of my Bitcoin miners. It works really, really well, getting you really good hash rate at lower power consumption. So eager to see how this works out on my KS5 Pro. Finally, thermal protection. Intelligent thermal protection prevents overheating of your machines. I'll take it because I love to protect my investments. Now scrolling down, it supports on the KS5 Pro, the KS5, the KS3, and also the second model of the KS3 because we have the 9.4 and also the 8.3. So those of you guys that have the KS3, not a lot of them around anymore, but this applies to you guys as well. So they talk about how to get started here. So it says most of these Kaspa miners are using the CVI tech boards. That's super important. So I have two KS5 Pros. I'm hoping at least one of them has this board. In addition to that, you need to install the Nicehash firmware on these units after you've gone ahead and added your cracker card to the control board. And you can see right here, it talks more about the cracker cards here. They go for $3 to $5, but you do need to purchase them in bulk. I'm hoping that we see a reseller purchase up a bunch of these and then resell them individually. I got my hands on 5 for today's testing. And as you can see in the picture here, you actually just connect it right to the board. Simple and easy. Then you boot up the board and you push out the Nicehash firmware. And we're going to do that over at my shed. They do explain here how to connect it to the control board. Pretty simple. Shutting it down, lifting the lid, plugging it in, off you go. Now, there are fees with this, which we see across the board traditionally with overclocking firmware. What is the fee for using Nicehash's firmware for Kaspa? The fee is dynamic, ranging from 1% up to 4%, which is pretty high up there. So 0 to 4% of your overclocking. So I haven't seen the dashboard yet, so I'm eager to see like how they allow you to tweak this, how that really works. What's the control mechanism? Is it an empty field? Is it set values? 1%. And as you get up to 14+% when it comes down to your overclocking, which is crazy, eager to see what the watts are, you get up to 4%. Now, this is only supported on Nicehash's pool, which is kind of a bummer, but I do understand it. We're seeing a lot of these pools like LuxOS and Brains move in this direction of kind of keeping people within their ecosystem. So without wasting too much time, let's head over to the shed and get this installed. All right, we're over at our ASIC shed here. If you guys are curious on what in the world this thing is, I'll put a link down below to the full shed build video. But let's step inside. So I'm gonna try to talk a little bit louder. It's not crazy loud, but with 30 fans running in here, it definitely is a little bit noisy. So over here in the bottom right-hand corner are our KS5 Pros. I do have a variety of other Kaspa miners, KS3M, 3M, and another 3M over here. Up top we have the 5L and another KS5L as well. Swinging around on the other side of our shed here underneath the workbench, we have our newer KS5L, and then all of these guys here are all KS2s that we have overclocked currently right now. But talking about our KS5 Pros today, we have 2 of them running currently right now. And they are hooked up to our 130 amp 240 volt over here, using 6,200 and about 80 watts between the 2 of them. Now that does not include the inline fans. As you guys can see, our traditional fans are removed, the high RPM fans. We are using the inline fan system. If you're curious, these inline fans on top speed of 10 run about 157 watts when connected to a typical 15 amp 120 volt. So what I want to do is I want to get one of these powered down on the workbench, and the other one we're going to allow it to run, and we're going to check what the hash rate is as well as what the watts are to give us a baseline. And the other unit we're going to use for our testing today with the Nicehash firmware and the cracker card. All right, I pulled our KS5 Pro that we're going to be doing our overclocking with. I did take out the one screw in the back here. Let's get the lid off, and here we go. So for those of you guys not familiar, this is, if I can get this off, there we go. This is the control board, kind of the brains of the Kaspa miner. To give you guys a quick rundown, we have our fan connections here. Actually goes into these dummy plugs, so it kind of tricks it to know that, hey, there's no high RPM fans plugged in, so it doesn't throw any issues. We have a communication cable here to our power supply and our power from the power supply. And then these cables are actually ribbon cables that from the control board talk to the actual hash boards. 1, 2, 3 total hash boards. And you don't want to touch these. These are the bus bars that transfer the power from the power supply to the actual hash boards. So what we're going to be looking at today is the connection here and here. So taking a look at our little cracker card, I believe what it does is it actually lines up almost like this, and it's going to be a process here, and I think we just go ahead and plug it in. That's it. Look at that. Man, that was so simple. Okay, let me go ahead, get this all put back together and reinstall it over here. All right, so it's been 15 minutes. I want to go ahead and take a look at our stock KS5 Pro right now. Only one plugged in. Our watts are about 3,100 and we'll say 75. So let's jump over to our computer here. Take a look. We're doing all of our readings after 15 minutes. As of now, we have a few seconds here. So let me go over to a spreadsheet. We're going to record these in. I'll link it down below. 3,175. Now these watts are without the inline fan. The inline fan uses about 157 watts, so we have accounted for that in our total watts here. So let's go back over to our KS5 Pro on the stock Bitmain firmware. I want to look at our average. It's 21.6. So we're going to put that over here, 21.6. All right, so what's next? So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead, we're going to unplug the stock one, plug in our Nicehash crackered Mara one, our overclocked one, and I'm going to show you guys how to apply the overclocking firmware, and we're going to start our first test. All right, so here is the overclock one with the chip in it, the Mara chip. So what do we have to do next? Well, when you come over to your Nicehash dashboard, you click on Download Miner, and then there's actually a section for the Nicehash firmware. Go ahead and click on that, and you have to download 2 things. Nicehash's toolkit as well as their firmware files. I've gone ahead and done that, so I'm going to go ahead and open that up. Here's the toolkit. We'll open that. It's going to give us a warning in Windows. We'll run it. And the next thing we're going to want to do is actually set it up to scan our network. So if you guys haven't already, I already did it. You could come in here, you could change it. I'm on an 86 subnet. We're going to click OK, and we're going to do scan. Now it's going to scan my entire network to show all of my miners, and it's going to give me a status as to how far along it is. This doesn't take long, only a minute or 2. You can see, look at that, went right up to 78. Now what we're looking for is 128. That's the one I know for sure, which is actually right here at the bottom. We do have the CV control board, which is important. We talked about that previously in their instructions. If you guys need that, I'll link this down below. It has the instructions for it. Next, what we're going to do is actually apply our firmware. So I found 14 miners, Bitmain miners in here. We're going to click OK. We're going to select our miner. We're going to come up here to choose and do install firmware. We're then going to go choose firmware, and we're going to select, actually in the folder we downloaded, there's a zip file. You actually select the zip file. It's definitely different there. And then we're going to pick firmware update. Now what it's going to do is it's going to ask us what miner we're looking to do. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do the KS5 that's selected right there. One miner was found, and I'm going to do update chosen. One miner running lock stock firmware version. It says April 2024, and install will likely fail. Click confirm to proceed. We're going to click yes. Now that cracker card is really what should do the trick for us and get around that, and it does say upgrading. So I'll be back in a minute when this is done. A few sips of coffee later, and our firmware update was successful. So what we're going to do now is click OK. We can actually go ahead, we'll minimize this. And if we go back to the IP address, it's actually prompting us here for credentials, which is the normal root and also root. Now, one thing to point out, you can do a lot of the management if you want to from the actual toolkit. You can do monitor and set, but we're going to do everything over on the miner itself. This is nice if you're doing mass onboarding or kind of configuration changes. So we're going to log in, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to hit F5 to actually refresh that page and take a look. This is now the Nicehash firmware on my Bitmain Antminer KS5 Pro. All right, so what's next? Well, we have to configure it. So first, let's go over to configuration, and I do need to put my username information, which I grabbed over from my Nicehash dashboard. I'm gonna paste that in there, put in a password of X, and then X as well. Now, the next thing is what you guys are most interested in is our operating mode. So we can come in here, take off stock hash rate, and we can go to two options. There's an automatic tuning, which you can do by percent, which is what we talked about before, or we can do our automatic tuning by our hash rate target if we're interested, or by a power target, which is nice, all based off if you have limitations or you're trying to get multiple units on 130 amp 240 volt, whatever you're looking for specifically. So what I'm thinking about doing is we can do by percent, and if I come up here to the instructions, we actually have different percent brackets. So what I'm thinking about doing based off of these licensing fees is I think I'm going to do the high end. So like 4%, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and how about 20? Why don't we do that? So I'm going to go ahead and enter in my first one of 4%. So we're going to come up here, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to 4%. And then we're going to go to the top right hand corner to save, and we're going to let this auto tune for 4%, and we're going to report back in 15 minutes on the results. So I decided to head home to go through the test results. Let's dive into it. So stock, we were at 21.6 at 31.75. Now let's take a look, because I ended up going through my testing and actually did it twice just to be safe. So looking at a target percent of 4% that we were setting within the software, we were at 22.82 terahash. So a very, very small increase there, only about 4%. And our watts were at 3165. So we actually saw slightly better hash rate, and our watts dropped down just a tiny, tiny bit. And we can actually look at the efficiency going from 68 to 72. And as that number goes up, it's actually better from the efficiency side. Jumping to 8% though, however, we went up to 23.69, and our watts went up a lot more, 3,331. And that's reflected actually over on the efficiency side at a 71. Jumping down to 12%, we jumped up to 24.56 terahash, but our watts jumped even more at 35.38. and we were at a 69 when it came down to our efficiency. So just a tiny bit better than stock. But 20% is really where the home run was. 20% put us at 21.73. So only a little bit better than stock, but our watch dropped down to about 29.31. And when we look at this from an efficiency perspective, taking a look at the 20% mark is actually the most efficient avenue moving forward at a 74 efficiency. Now, if you're looking for just pure hash rate, believe it or not, 12% is actually the better avenue to go, putting us at 24.56 terahash, which is pretty badass, to be honest with you. I mean, we're almost breaking 25 terahash there with the Nicehash OS firmware and that Mara cracker chip. If you guys are interested in the Nicehash firmware, I'm going to leave a video in the upper corner. Go over and check it out. I actually just put this out not too long ago. In addition to that, if you're more interested in the Kaspa KS5 Pro, check out this video down below that I just did the other week, going ahead and installing it. I'll see you guys next time.